And we're live with Prepper Talk Radio, our weekly live 6 p.m. Mountain Time every Wednesday, almost without fail. The only time we're not here is when we're out hunting deer. I don't know. I got nothing to rhyme with that, so I'm just going to spitball it. Guys, we love doing this. We're here almost every Wednesday, religiously 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Join us or catch us on the rebroadcast, or you can stream us anytime you want to. This is fun because we're broadcasting on Facebook, YouTube, and also on TikTok. So find us where you want to be, and we'll help you get ready. Tonight is brought to you by The Good Life. Guys, if you haven't checked this out yet, you need to go over to preppertalkradio.com/Good Life. Check out this side hustle we've all jumped in on. It's amazing. We get paid every week, and we get paid once a month on renewals. It's amazing. And on top of that, guys, just the tastiest, cleanest nutrient supplements we've ever found. All of it at wholesale for the members. So check it out. And also check out our t-shirts in our merch store. All of us are representing. I've got one of our oldest. Look at this thing. It's still hanging in there. This thing is 10 years old from when we first started. The week we coined the phrase ready-minded, I got this shirt made. It's still here.
That's awesome.
So I'm repping with pride. I got to get a new shirt because I just ripped the sleeve yesterday. These guns are getting too big. You guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the Prepper Talk family. Grid Down Game Night. I wanted to do this kind of more of a fun episode about like, okay, things have gone sideways. Yes. Life sucks. Yes. What can we do to have some fun? That's where we're at for this episode.
Well, I guess it depends on what kind of fun you're talking about, because fun for me and fun for my wife are two entirely different things, and my kids as well, right? For me, fun is, go and work on the garden, go work on the greenhouse. That's my kind of fun. Get out of the house and for my son, it's his one of his video games. Couldn't tell you which one, but so it's definitely subjective, and I think it's gonna be different between the three of us as well.
What's funny because I just messed up our video here. I don't know. I'm really of the mindset of I like to chill and relax, but I also I love getting things done and crossing things off the list. But I've got small kids. We've all got kids, in the younger years, but I've got to have lots and lots of stuff to keep them busy and out of the way when I can't have them doing stuff with me. But for the most part, we want to do stuff with them, right? We want to have them partnered in on everything that's going on in our lives. I think that's huge and that's very, very valuable. But man, you got to have some fun stuff too. And that's where I'm excited, because we got board games out the wazoo. We've got puzzles out the wazoo. We've got library stuff. We've got art stuff. I'm thinking about long-term, homeschooling, all that other stuff as part of our preparedness plan. So, and we do, when the power goes out, we do play games and set up a lantern and do board games. I got my kids turned on to Monopoly this last month, which I didn't think I'd be able to get them to do, but they're like, I want to play Monopoly. Let's play Monopoly. And I'm like, you're 6 and 8. Okay. I'm explaining everything all the time over and over again, but they're doing it. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, there's my brother went on a mission for our church to a place called Fogo, which is an island off the coast of West Africa, and the kids they would get bottle caps, and they would craft these cars, and then they would race cars in the dirt, and they had more fun with their bottle cap wheeled cars than most of our entitled kids have with their iPads and all the other entertainment that they have. Endless entertainment for days. And so one of the things I'm kind of excited, my daughter, I went down today, it was noon or lunchtime. And I'm like, hey, she's 12. I'm like, are you going to get out of bed? And she says, yeah, I don't really want to. She's on her phone in her bed, go outside, get some sunshine. I think that's another thing that once things start happening, board games are great for inside. But then there's a lot of, tag and hide and seek and, rover, send the guy over, whatever that game is. I don't even remember, there's yard bowling, and there's all kinds of fun, frisbee and throw the ball. And, what is that, pulling sticks that they used to play back in the day? They'd, all
old fashioned stick pull.
Yeah. An old fashioned stick pull. So, just fun there's got to be stuff out there like that's going to give us the opportunity to really be keep ourselves entertained, because that's the one thing too, is that we've gotten to the point now where dopamine is like, we're all addicted to it. Like there's nobody that I mean, there might be some monk in the middle of somewhere that might not be, but most of the rest of us are addicted to dopamine in some way or another. And so to be able to shut all that off and start to use our imaginations again. Like I remember when I was a kid playing, I would play cowboys, and I mean, I don't know if I can say this and be politically correct anymore, but I'd play cowboys and Indians. And boy, that was, that was the funnest thing ever. My mom made a TP for us, and I had my holster, and we'd just go and we'd create all these random scenarios. I got my sister to be the maiden and then need to be saved. And my brother was the evil guy that I had to go conquer, like we just had all these fun, and then we trade, roles and have a lot of fun and just create whole scenarios and we would leave in the morning, and it was like dark, and we were starving and that's when we came home. We didn't come home, like we do now. So I just remember those would be some fun things to kind of relive, I think, when we get to the quote unquote simpler times.
Well, there's nothing stopping us from doing it now, though.
Where there's a will, there's a way. And right now there's no will, so there's no way.
Well, the kids used to get out on our bikes and just go everywhere.
Yes.
And now they get on their electric bikes or scooters or really don't even care to get out on a pedal bike.
Or they get on their live stream and connect with their friends on their gaming board or whatever. Like my kids found this silly little game, and it's on the phone, on cell phones and tablets. And so all the cousins will like hop on and message each other. Mm-hmm. Hey guys, we're hopping on this game. Let's all jump on. And so then all of a sudden you've got kids in every room of the house laughing, and you can hear all the cousins at their houses laughing, all connected on these silly little tabs. But it's like getting them outside is so much better for them. Right. And in a grids down scenario, we're going to see dopamine solutions. Yeah, it's going to be horrible for a little while, but getting back to basics, it's going to be so nice. Like I look at entertainment's going to be, what do we talk about around the campfire at night, or the new norm, the candle, the lantern at the table, right? Mm-hmm. Getting back to simpler things. Like one of the things I think we've lost is the ability to storytell. Captivating stories to keep our kids engaged. Or like the other night I did with my son, we turned the light on in the back of the cell phone, and we turned the lights off in the room, and we started doing campfire stories, spooky stories. You could just, this much light on your face. And he started talking about, I don't even know, a stumble guy on some game and how he came into the camp and scared everybody. And he actually told a pretty good, compelling story. I'm like, all right, this kid, all right, we can work with this. But it's like, those are the kinds of things we should be doing more now so that we can do them even better later, right? Mm-hmm. Disassociate the electronics all the time and start really getting face-to-face and spending more time together, because, dude, what are you going to talk about if you don't have a good conversation or tell good stories? What are you going to talk about when we're all stuck together in small, cramped spaces trying to keep warm, Yeah.
I have a contrasting story to yours, Paris, where your daughter slept until noon. My 13-year-old daughter, she usually does as well. But this morning, I noticed the light on her room at like 6:30 in the morning. She was in there exercising and stretching at 6:30 in the morning. I'm like, this is strange, because, she's usually doing the same thing as your daughter in order to bed on her phone.
Did you check to see if she had a fever?
I did check in on her. So, but it's obviously nice to see those types of things happen in our kids' lives, that they get out of the old rut, right? And then part of that is, and I was thinking about, okay, as a prepper, as a preparer, what do I get to enjoy that a lot of people don't? The sunrise, right? I'm up before the sun, and I get to see it rise, and I get to watch the colors, and get that sunlight right into my eyes first thing in the morning to wake me up and get everything turned on. And I mean, that's the way it used to be as well. It's not, no screen time in the morning or at night, right? It's get that sunsetting light right into your eyes, and just like you're saying, Scott, about telling stories. I'm definitely not a storyteller, but a board game guy. Yeah, absolutely. But another thing that I think a lot of things that preppers do lend itself to good old fashioned fun. For me, backpacking and camping, that's absolutely a prepper activity, right? You got your bug out bag and you're going several miles into the wilderness. That's absolutely a bug out situation. And, we used to do that a lot as when I was younger. And obviously my kids have not had that experience yet of going out in the middle of the wilderness, setting up a tent, starting a fire, and being concerned about all the animals around you. Right.
Right. What was that noise? What was that noise, Dad?
My first time camping with my wife, she wasn't a camper because she's like, I won't go camping if there's not a bathroom, if there's not a latrine. Like, that's not real camping. So I built we call it the Scotty Potty. I built a portable latrine with our gear so that I can set up a private tent with a toilet bucket, so she can use that. Like, and we've got all the sanitation stuff, right? But it's funny because like during the night, she kept hearing this noise, and she's like, there's a bear or something out there. I'm like, there's not. There is. There's not. They're like back and forth, right? She wasn't used to it, so she's freaking out. So finally, I'm like, okay. And I'm like, a 9mm against the bear, not going to do much. I'm going to die. But I'm like, I'm going to grab it. I'm going to grab my flashlight, and I'm going to walk around the tent, and I'm going to go check her. And she's like, you're not leaving me in here. You're not leaving me in here. She had to come with me. So we're walking around the tent, shining my light, my high-vis light everywhere. I'm like, there's nothing. And I go, the noise that you're hearing that I told you is this branch right here, rubbing against that branch right there, rubbing that branch against the tent. So I snapped off the other branch and the noise went away. She's like, oh, well, that's a relief. I can go back to sleep. And I'm like, woman, but like, those are things that if you're not experienced in it, it's going to be a life-changing moment. I don't know what's out there. Nothing, guys, nothing most of the time. There might be something out there, but know where you are, know how to read trail sign, know how to like learn all these things. Like I used to, in scouting, we had a scoutmaster who would actually take us in the fields and in the forests and tell us to find tracks, find evidence of animals, right? Learn how to track them. We were horrible. We'd find stuff. We're like, is this something? He's like, no. Is this something? No, right? But learning how to do those things, eventually we started identifying prints and game trails. I always was like, what's a game trail? For years, I was trying to figure this out. And it wasn't until I was 14 that I'm like, someone actually showed me one, and now I understood what it was. But it's like those fun activities you can do now turn into life-saving activities later, because now you can set up a trap or set up a hunting spot so you can actually catch something and have some nummy goodies, right?
Well, I think the reality of right now, we have so many things that are automated, and we have so many things that kind of do stuff for us. Like we literally, I take 5 minutes every night, maybe 10, and depending on the day, and load the dishwasher, and then I hit the button, and then it washes all the dishes for me for 2 hours or however long it is. But when the grid goes down, I'm gonna have to wash those dishes by hand. And so one of the things I'm just starting to realize right now is like, there may not be enough time for fun activities because we're so busy doing all the things that are automated for us. And, hey, I can drive to my daughter's house 20 miles away in 15 to 25 minutes, depending on traffic. But if I had to walk there or ride my bike there, that's 2 or 3 hours, at one way coming back, whatever I do to help her and coming back, it's like, whoa, the day just flew by and now I don't even have time. I wore myself out. And so, but I think that, I think there's something to say about, taking time now to teach the family fun skills. Like I remember as a Boy Scout, learning how to use my compass. That was fun. Orienteering was fun. And, they gave us like a treat at the end if we found the treasure or whatever at the coordinates, And so there's some fun things like that it's actually a skill, which is what we talked about in our last episode, but it's also something that could be fun as an activity to teach those types of things. So even fun things we can do as quote unquote game nights today, would be a fun thing to do just with your kids. Hey, let's go grab a compass and see if you can make it home or whatever, take them somewhere. I mean, maybe not that dramatic, but drop them off in the woods and say, hey, the coordinates back to our house are right there on that piece of paper. See ya.
Draw your own map. That was a skill we talked about in the last one, right? Create a map. Use those as games now to get them prepped and ready to go. I love this from Practical. Always the simplest way is the easiest way and the best way to do things for long term. He's never used a dishwasher. He doesn't like them. First to wash his own. Been doing so since he was 10, and it's always been required to do after dinner. Until we renovated our kitchen, I didn't use our dishwasher. And then we got a new dishwasher when I renovated the kitchen. And I'm like, I use it, but I'm like, half the time, I'm like, the water's so hard and things are so terrible here. I'm like, I got to clean that again anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the point of even having this? But yeah, I foresee in the future, we're going to be doing a lot of manual things and we're not going to have as much time for fun. But one of the things that I really have thought about, I'm like, this is brilliant. Shane, you know how to play the piano, right?
Mm-hmm.
Paris, do you have any instruments you play?
Well, the trumpet, but that's a little bit.
Rusty.
I can do the trumpet and a little guitar, but we have a piano, and my wife was taking cello lessons for a little while, so we got a little bit of a talented. We got some talents here.
Learn the same songs. Learn how to play dance music. Even like, and the reason I say it is like, in the old days, they loved to have those town get-togethers.
Oh yeah,
they'd have square dancing, right? My kids just learned square dancing in their little summer camp, and they were so excited to come show me, and I'm just laughing because all their moves are wrong. But I had to do square dancing in school. I don't know if you guys did that as part of your required curriculum.
Grab your partner, do-si-do.
Yeah, promenade and take her home. Like like it was so much fun. I got into it, and I'm like, I've got a niece that plays the fiddle. I've got
and now they learn the chicken dance.
Guitar. We need a banjo player,
right? I'm gonna get a jug, right? That's my skill set. That's all I got. But being able to do those things and have like a way to get people together to celebrate when you've got something figured out, or how to take some stress off, because when time comes where it's all hard again, it's going to break a lot of people. And to be able to have an outlet like that, to be able to rally the community and be like, hey, we're going to have a neighborhood wide potluck and dance, right? We're going to have live music. People will get excited for that. It'll revitalize them and say, okay, I can keep going, and give them something to look forward to.
We did that. Our neighborhood did that last Tuesday. There's a group. This one of our neighbors, they did the sound for for professional musicians, like people. If I was to mention some names, you'd probably know them. But he does the sound, and he lives over here, and he has a whole stage. Like, it was a portable stage. He's literally set up a whole stage in his driveway, and he had it leveled out, and there was speakers and the whole thing. And we probably there was neighbors I never even knew were my neighbors. I don't know if they came from other places that they were invited, or they were just people that finally come out of their house. But I saw some people, and we were full, and they roped off part of the road, and it was so much fun. We had, I think we had some treats. We had some Otter Pops, those popsicle Otter Pops, and they had different people, different neighbors got up and sang a song, like a mini talent show. They had my son sang, and several other people sang, and then they had a band that played the rest of the night for like an hour and a half, and it was awesome. It was so much fun. So I can just imagine that kind of stuff when the crap hits the fan, to be able to have, even if it's not electric, you could still do acoustic and still have a ton of fun.
Well, think about how much we dread doing those things right now, because it takes so much time to go do that. No, I've got to go. The neighborhood's getting together. Oh, okay, fine. I was going to use that night to work on my break. So I was going to do this other project, right? Well, it'll come a time where all we're doing is projects to survive, that being able to get together for something fun is going to be the highlight of the year, 100%. The highlight of the month, right? And so acquiring skills and make that part of today's assignment for life. Learn how to do something that you can use as entertainment later. Plays will become popular again, like Community Playhouse. theater and maybe sing-alongs. Like we're gonna find a lot of silly things that we make fun of.
Marionettes. Learn to be a marionette.
Yeah, like those could be popular again. Look at the old villages, and yeah, there's always a puppeteer somewhere, a marionette guy, and some guy playing his little. I wanted to say stromboli, but that's a food.
That's a food. It was like the Pied Piper or whatever.
A Pied Piper, something, right? Something to entertain, something to gather around, something to reconnect us all. Because it's going to be more work than we've ever experienced. So you got to have something to look forward to, something to relax with. I'm really excited about my hammocks. In our next house, I'm going to have hammocks strung between every post in the backyard. I'm going to have eye hooks in those. I'm going to have them ready to go so I can just drop hammocks and relax and read and tell stories at nighttime and sleep out there when it's the temperature's right and really get more involved with the world.
Yeah, I like that you said reading, because I think that's a huge skill that we're so entertained by visual TVs and online, doom scrolling or whatever, but to actually sit down and read and let those words create a picture in your imagination that plays out like a movie. I mean, that's the founding fathers, the people before our country, they had libraries that were so immense and huge and amazing. I think that's something that's really cool. Actually, kind of funny thing, speaking of libraries, they're actually a group of sanitation engineers, garbage men and women, that created a library from all the books they found in the trash that they picked from people. And they now have this huge library where people can come and read. So there's lots of ways to create libraries that are less expensive or very inexpensive. So that was kind of cool. Reading is good.
Mike brings up a great point that I see around my house all the time, right? How long will the grid need to be down before all these things start happening? They honestly should be happening right now, but what happens around my house, probably around all of your houses, is Sunday afternoon, right? We're doing nothing, right? There's no plans, dinner's already done or whatever. We're back from church. And what do? We separate individually, go to our rooms, and we're just the quotation words, relaxing, right? And that's what you do on a Sunday. We relax, right? No, that's for me, that's not a good time. That's not fun. That's not, wholesome entertainment. I won't just say entertainment, because that's all everything is nowadays, is entertainment. Yep. Even this, what we're doing now, technically this is entertainment, right? It should be educational and entertainment. But how can we, and going back to Mike's comment here, how can we say that we're going to do these things then if we're not doing them now? That's kind of what I get from Mike, your comment there is, right, why aren't we doing them now? I'd love to get out the card games, the board games. Nerds is one of my favorite games, and we go nuts, get everybody around the table, and it is crazy time, but it is so much fun. Something that doesn't take power. You got trading, you got to playing cards, just very simple, and really builds relationships.
What is it again?
Nerds. If you don't know the game, I'll have to teach it to you.
NERTZ or TS?
Yeah, NERTZ, look it up. It is a very fast-paced game. It's been a family tradition since I was a kid, since before I was a kid.
One of the fun things that are in our church, we do it's called a father and sons outing, and usually the dads take their boys and they go do a overnighter. And this last year, we went, and it was fun because it's a bunch of dads and their sons of all ages. One kid threw a rock and another kid got, we had to have stitches. And it was so that we have fun, There's lots of fun stuff going on. But we sat down at a table, and this guy pulled out a deck of cards, and he's like, I lived in Germany for 2 years, or some weird Eastern European country, and this is a card game I learned over there. And he taught us this. It was so much fun. We like, the time flew. And then and then was like, hey, dinner's ready. I'm like, dang, already? Like, this was so fast. So those card games and just spending time with other people, even if it's not your family, but like bring over a friend or a neighbor, or, you know, at the point where the grid's down for an extended period of time, you're probably going to have some neighbors that you're going to coordinate with as well, you know? So that can be really fun and have a lot of, one of the reasons why I don't do it now is because I'm so distracted by everything else that I've got to do, my business, my Prepper Talk radio duties, my editing videos. I'm just constantly doing stuff. And, you know, I got calls to make, calling leads and setting appointments, and I'm on podcasts now. I'm doing a lot of podcast guesting for my financial business. And so it's just like, it's hard to find time to do that because I've got so many other things. And so it would be nice to not have all those other obligations anymore, because the grid's down. You can't edit a video if there's no electricity, and nobody cares about YouTube anyways, right? So suddenly, now instead of spending 2 hours editing a video, I can go spend 2 hours, you know, cleaning in my garden or working in my yard or meeting up with a neighbor and helping them with their, you know, whatever, and or having a game night, you know.
It's funny how like necessity will drive beyond all other cares, right?
Yeah.
What we think is important now will be completely gone and diminished, and you're like everything you can do just to survive, right, and keep your family safe. Like I really think part of the reason why I wanted to do this topic was to illustrate, yes, there's tons of options, but more importantly, there's not tons of time. You're going to spend a lot of time doing other things, so find things that you're going to enjoy doing that you can share with and you can do relatively easily. Like, I'm really geeking out. I got to go check out Nerds. I'm really geeking out because in the comments, Practical Civilian said he said check out hammocks, AMOK. They're awesome. They're expensive, but they're awesome because you can use them as chairs or hammocks. And I'll probably be adding these to my equipment gear checklist. But like, there's so many different things you can do to simplify. Like just playing a game of tag or hide and seek can keep your kids entertained, right? Or have you guys ever played? I think it's called Sardines. Have you ever played that game?
Yes. The opposite of hide and seek.
Reverse hide and seek. One person hides and everyone's got to go find him. And when you find him, you hide with them and you have to be quiet. My 6-year-old would die laughing the whole time. And so he'd ruin it and spoil it for everybody, but we'd all laugh. Like, it'd be fun. But finding things like that, keeping those on hand, writing those things down, keeping an oral record of like your family history, keeping oral like stories ready to go that you can share and experiences. As a kid, when we'd go camping with the family, that was the entertainment. Hearing the stories of my parents' childhood and my grandparents' childhood, or their adventures and their misfit days and hooliganism and shenanigans, right? In our house, now we talk about shenanning because you can shenan and then you can shenan again. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but I kid with my kids all the time, like, let's go shenanning. And they love it. It's like you make a game out of anything you're doing. But you're going to have to be creative in the future and make a game, especially if you've got kids. Yeah. If you've got grandkids, like, you got to make it fun.
Yeah. On the one hand, like Paris said, we're going to have less time for these types of things because we're going to be more busy doing things manually, because that's what, modern life is about: convenience and ease and comfort, right? We want to be comfortable. We want to relax. You don't want to have to work. But, I personally think work is fun, and it takes some time to get there. It's like going on a hike. Once you get started, man, this sucks. I'm so tired. The pack is heavy. But once you do that and you repeatedly do that, I can't wait to get back out again and throw that pack on. I love the feeling of that pack on my back. You know what I mean? And so, and like, also like you're saying, Scott, is you talked about reading. It's also writing, like you say, writing your history. It's keeping a journal. It's writing short stories. I mean, that used to be, and I go look way far back, and that used to be the primary communication method, is writing, obviously. And so, and even in the 90s, early 2000s, books, authors, everybody wanted to be an author. Now everybody wants to be an influencer, right? Get back to wanting to be an author. and write. And, I'm a bit of a blogger. I don't blog every, I have a blog, but I just never take the time, never really have the time to blog. I would love for the power to go out and be able to just sit down and blog. I've got dozens and dozens of topics sitting there waiting for me to write on. And like Mike said here, when does the power have to go out for us to actually do these things? And I've been kind of waiting. Yeah, I wish the power would go out so I can do a lot of these things.
Well, another fun thing is this is like our life will revolve more around the family mealtime, right?
Yeah,
We'll spend more time. Like the Amish will sit and eat dinner for 2.5, 3 hours. That's their entertainment for the night too, right? Catching up on what you've done, what you've accomplished, what's going on, but also learning and connecting deeper with everybody in your group. But those opportunities, those times, is like you can also do things like I grew up, we had an ice cream churner. So you'd churn the ice cream bucket and you'd hand it to the next person. They'd churn it for a little while, hand it to the next person. We'd be sitting out on the back patio taking turns churning ice cream with grandma, right? Other things that are fun is like actually, I remember snapping beans as a kid with my grandma, getting them ready for canning and sitting there and just talking and snapping beans, sitting on the back porch, right? You can make those things fun. I love that, Shane, you brought up work to you is fun, right?
Absolutely.
That's a mindset you've been blessed with. I think you've already got that inkling, right? But you've built it, right? Over a lifetime. The blessing is in the building. And a lot of us don't think of that as much, right? I miss being able to work hard with my back injury. I can't do what I used to be able to do. So what I can do, I appreciate. And when I can do more, I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. I can do more. And I usually overdo. But being able to appreciate what you can do and do more of it, that's huge. And I think a lot of it's going to come down to no matter what's going on and how bad things might get, grid down or whatever, like learning to have gratitude for it so that we can keep a level mind. Gratitude for what we have and what we can do.
I think work as again, going back to the dopamine hit, there's different ways to get those kind of highs, if you will. And I think that as men, especially, one of the big things that we like to have is accomplishment and respect. And when we build something or create something or chop down a tree, or, we get a similar style of dopamine hit, endorphin hit that gives us a sense of accomplishment, which gives us that yes feeling. And so, like, for example, Jordan Peterson, we haven't talked about him in a while. Jordan Peterson says that one of the great things about, one of the tragedies about young men these days is that they'll play video games, and in the video game, they conquer the enemy and they feel like they've accomplished this. They've slain the dragon, at the end of the raid or at the end of the World of Warcraft or whatever game they're playing, Halo or whatever, Fortnite, whatever they are these days. And they'll get that sense of accomplishment and that sense of, I did it. I conquered. Well, it's fake. And so when you're doing it in the real world, when you're accomplishing great things, when you're building a barn or you're building, you're planting a garden and you've done it and you've accomplished it, and you fixed and repaired a thing. Like I always tease my wife, hey, whenever I do some manly home repair of some kind, the towel rack fell off the wall the other day, and I figured out, it's super easy, super, dorky, but I'm like, I got I figured out how to make it so that it was even stronger than it was before. And I was like, babe, do you think I'm a man because I can do these housework things, like wink, wink, and I'm so it's that sense of accomplishment that we're lacking in today's world, because what do you have to do to conquer anything? Nothing. It's all pretty much done for you. And so that's why there's so many mental, I think that's what Jordan Peterson kind of alludes to, is that's why there's so much mental illness and mental problems with young men, is because they just have there's no outlet for them to really accomplish great things, instead of, other than a computer screen that's fake, Yeah,
they've conquered a boss, right? That's kind of the thing my kids talk about. Oh, there's this boss and that boss, and this boss is really hard, and we finally conquered this boss. and they'll say, "Oh, he was really easy to beat this boss." But like you say, it's fake. They're not really accomplishing anything. Sure, it leads to, like you say, some endorphins. You know, it leads to some good feelings once you've conquered that on the screen. But yeah, what actually got done? Did you do something that actually stayed done? No, you just come back. You have to do it again next time, right?
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I kind of try to have on my list every day is try to do something every day that stays done. It's hard, harder than you might think. What can I do that actually stays done, right? And so you get some fulfillment instead of the
Because fulfillment lasts
fake.
longer than the
Right.
dopamine hit, anyways.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly. You can look back at it and you can take a picture of it and actually keep it in your memory.
And fun and happiness are related. And
Mhm.
so fun, can be fleeting or just, entertaining in the moment. But happiness is more of a sustained level of that euphoric feeling of, hey, I'm doing good things in the world. I'm happy. I'm accomplishing, I'm building, I'm growing, I'm doing things. And I know we're supposed to do game night, and here we are talking about like mental toughness and other things, but it's like when you accomplish something, you can do a lot more. So to me, you're right, Shane. I doing the good work and accomplishing something, looking back and saying, I did that, I built that's fun. That
Mhm.
is fun.
Well, that was my hope for this conversation, really, was to just get beyond the idea of I've got to be entertained to I've got to find value in everything I'm doing.
Good.
Because at the end of the day, what is entertainment? It's mostly to distract you,
Escape.
right? An escape. But if you don't have anything to escape from, how high quality is that life? Isn't that what
Right.
we're all striving for, anyways?
Build a life you don't want to take a vacation from.
Right. That's why I'm like so desperate to change my situation. Right. Shane's working on his retirement location. Not truly a bug out location, but his retirement location. I'm looking at my next phase of life to be in a new location where I'm hands on with my food production more than I've ever been, where I'm hands on with my daily living, simplified, right? So that it's taken care of with love and thoughtfulness in everything that we do. And that way I'm trying to teach my kids thoughtfulness now, but it's like that's going to be the benchmark going forward, is creating a life that I never want a vacation from.
Yeah, totally agree. Just a comment here. Obviously games are important, whether video games and so forth, but obviously we can go overboards, right? Overboard. And a lot of these kids do. One thing that I found works really well at our house is games of strategy that have, like, for example, Rummy Cube. If you're not familiar with that, you have all these tiles. You're trying to get rid of your tiles, and it's a numbers game, so it requires, a little bit of thinking. In that, there's a little bit of math. Not really, but strategy on how to play on the hands of other players, and I find that my younger kids are really very sharp at this, and they do really really well at it. And so it's not just a simple card game that requires no thought or very little strategy, which obviously can be fun as well. But games of strategy, like Risk, for example, a lot of strategy in that game, a lot of thinking, and I think it accomplishes the same of distraction and relaxation as well, unplugging and moving into a totally different reality. I'll use that word, right? You're getting out of your mundane life, whatever you're stuck in, and moving into something else. It doesn't have to be a virtual world. It can actually be here in the world, in creating, even like you say, Monopoly or those kinds of games that require some strategy and thought.
Have you guys ever heard of Settlers of Catan?
Oh yeah, we
Catan.
play that one too. Yeah.
I love that game. I can't get my wife or kids to play it. I love that. I love this game called Monopoly. My kids are finally playing. My wife's like, I don't like this game, and she's it's warming up now.
Teaching them about the banking system as it is.
I'm teaching about the broken banking system, the cabal that is, and how it works, so you can work
And
it
the
in your
Fed.
favor, right? But I'm also teaching them. I'm also teaching them math mostly because that's all that they're getting right now. But then there's other games like we play Risk, we play chess, and they're simple, right? The less challenging the game, the more fun it can be for them. And then as they get and understand those games, we'll elevate and do tougher games. But like, there's a game that I play. I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of the Rat Race game from Robert Kiyosaki.
Is
He
it
had- he did-
Cash Flow 101 or is
Cash
it the other
Flow,
one?
yeah, Cash Flow 101. I used to play that game all the time, and I can't get it. I can't find anyone who wants to play it with me because it requires, quote, too much thinking. But finding things that'll work, like we've stockpiled puzzles because that's something you can get up and walk away from and come back later, right?
Mhm.
And it's not creating competition, except for that last piece. The kids will fight over who gets to put that in, but like finding things, card games, phase 10. There's a million uses for a deck of cards, poker cards. Like there's a million different games you can play. I grew up, we'd play phase 10 all night with my grandparents and my aunts and uncles, and then my cousins, right? The simpler, the better. The less pieces you can lose, the better. Right. And
Right.
so it's good to have a few sets of cards of every kind and of every variety, because you never know what's going to happen. Awesome. Any other ideas? I'd love to hear. We've had some amazing comments from our chat that's going on in the live stream. Any other ideas on things you guys think would be good to have and good to prepare with for grid down life enjoyment?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious is shooting sports,
Mhm.
right? That builds a lot of confidence in being able to have that type of, I'll say the word, power in your hands, carrying around something that can make you safe, and having that confidence that that you can defend yourself. So I think that is obviously that's a big prepper part, obviously. And I've tried to teach my kids young to shoot, and they do well and they enjoy it. They have their own guns and are getting to know those guns, and they only have one. So, like the saying goes, is fear the man who has one gun. He probably knows how to use it. So, and I think it was also Thomas Jefferson that talked about the gun over sports, right? And I don't have the quote in front of me, but I could look it up. Check it out. He wrote a letter to his nephew. I advise the gun, I think is how you'll find it. And learning to walk very far are the two things he talked about. And I completely agree with my experience. It builds confidence, and instead of sports. And that's all I'll say about that.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think even any kind of martial art or self-defense could be some fun to do, just wrestling. I remember my buddy and I in high school, we would just go in the front yard and wrestle each other. It was like fun to do that. There's all kinds of adventures you can go on, just walking through the woods and getting a stick and whittling that down to some kind of an arrow, learning how to throw a spear. I mean, just kind of crazy, boy stuff that traditional boy stuff. I guess we can say, I don't know if we can say that anymore anyways, but
darn right you can.
Right. I just think that stuff is kind of fun. Growing up doing that kind of stuff. So I would, one of the things I was going to say earlier about strategy games is that those are really good for get your mental acuity, keep your mental strength. There's exercises for our physical bodies. Exercising for our spiritual bodies is prayer and scripture study and having good, deep intellectual, spiritual conversations with people. But keeping ourselves mentally acute and aware and awake is strategy games. And, whether it's with other people or with yourself, hide and seek, capture the flag, like all of these are fun games that can kind of give us some strategy and learning how to work together as a team,
Yeah.
especially like a capture the flag. I mean, that's a little bit
Mm.
more fun, but
Yeah.
that would be all those games. I mean, I remember playing there's like, find something that you think would be like, for example, right now I was watching another video earlier today, and there's these loggers. They were having a competition, and I see who could cut through the log 3 times the fastest. I mean, maybe we could do who could build a birdhouse the fastest or something. Who could plant the row of seeds the fastest. And so now it's like you're doing something, but it's also a game. And so those are some other ideas that I was thinking, like have a little, tell your neighbor, hey, I bet you I could I bet you I could plant my tomatoes before you plant your squash, and go, you know what I mean? And so meet back in 5 minutes, see how many we planted, you know? So there's fun things like that you can do to kind of make the work be a little more fun.
We used to do weeding races where everybody get assigned a row, and whoever got the most weeds by the end of the row won. We were too stupid to know what we were doing when we first started that as kids, and we pulled so many good plants, sprouting
Oh, dang.
peas, sprouting corn. Like we get to the other end, we're like, I got 40. They're like, you did it wrong. Like you shouldn't have had 40.
Yeah, 20
like,
were
what?
weeds,
And they're like,
20
let me
were
see what you got. They're like, no, right? So make sure you're teaching your kids what not to pull, what's a
Right.
weed and what's not a weed. Yeah, a lot of mistakes were made. But yeah, I love this idea of making chores a game, right? Who can get the bathroom clean the fastest, or who can do XYZ the fastest or the best. But finding fun ways to do everything. I remember when I was in Scouts, we used to have I can't remember the name of the camp we'd go to, but the summer camp we'd go to, Camp Chris Dobbins, they had a Coulter run every week for each of the different groups of Scouts. Do you guys remember what the Coulter run is?
Mm-hmm.
So there was a movie made out of it, and I think it's called The Naked Prey. But basically, John Coulter was a mountain man who was captured by the Blackfoot Indians, and he escaped and ran 7 miles while being hunted, and was basically naked the whole time, running away, trying to get away from these guys. And one of the things he did is he jumped into a beaver lodge, jumped into the water, swam underneath, and hid inside of that until the trackers passed. Right. And there were all these interesting. The story's phenomenal, but we created at Camp Chris Dobbins. They create this 7-mile race where you'd have different challenges. You'd have to stop and do a navigation panel at one area. You'd have to stop and do knot tying in another area. There was one area where you had to actually load a black powder rifle, shoot a target, and then clean it and run off, right? And so you'd have all these different challenges. Like those are the different types of things to do that you can actually have a phenomenal, engaging, and fun experience while also getting in shape and learning skills, or proving that you've learned those skills. And I like that we're talking about prison gyms in our in our chat, right? Having a way to work out, if you like working out, and maybe during the winter when you don't have the ability to plant a garden and do all these other things, like things slow down, get some cinder blocks. You can have good weights to do weight training with, and other stuff, move things around, stay active. I love that prison gym. You guys are awesome. Thank you, Practical, and thank you, Sean. That is.
I was thinking, as maybe my final comment tonight is, we talked a little bit about reading, but we really didn't get into probably the most important part is reading scripture. Yes. And not just reading it ourselves, reading with our family, and reading out loud, because there is power in the words, in saying the words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we probably should have even let off with that. I mean, and thinking about Grid Down Game Night, it just would give me the opportunity to say, okay, the lights are off. What are we going to do? And with that time when we all split up individually and go do our own individual things, hopefully not on our devices, that we can also spend time in the Word, meditating as well, and contemplating, especially without the noise of having the internet and technology.
Yeah, my wife and I pulled our kids aside last night and we said, you know what? we want to do once a week. In our church, we call it family home evening, and it's usually on a Monday night, and we haven't done it for a couple years. And we used to do it like we were, ironically, religiously. We used to do it religiously, but we haven't done it in a long time. And so we told our kids, hey, we want to start doing every Monday night. We'll do a lesson and a game and some treats or something like that. But lesson first. And then I said, and then every night, because for most of my kids' life, every night before bed, we would come together, we would read a chapter of the scriptures, and then we would pray as a family. And even if we don't come together to read the scripture, or maybe it's a little longer chapter and we're like, yeah, we're too tired tonight, we always pray as a family. Every night we come together, and that's kind of, that's the deal. Probably 5 nights a week, if not every night a week, but we do it. That's so powerful to bring the family together at least once a day, where everyone's together. We can kind of talk about it. And before we pray, we talk about it. Tell me about your day. Tell me about what your thoughts and feelings are. What are you worried about? What's going on tomorrow? And so when we pray about the things that we just talked about, because we just learned what they're worried about, what their fears and resent, what their concerns are, and what they want blessings for. And then we can say, God, thank you so much that my son had a great day today because of this, that, and the other. Please bless that tomorrow when he goes to this event or whatever he does, he has you with him to guide and direct him, So it's really just a good time to kind of reconnect and then pray about and have that tradition of prayer. That's something that our family does. If not every night, we're 5 out of 7
Nice.
on the week.
So my closing thoughts for the night. Thank you everyone for being on the live, and thank you for everyone who's listening to this later. Guys, what do we learn from tonight? I think 3 big things. Focus on your health in regards to your physical, your mental, and your spiritual. Keep them sharp, and that helps you find ways to enjoy even the drudgery of what you're doing so that you can find happiness in everything. And I love that we've been commanded that by the sweat of our brow shall we eat all the days of our lives. There's joy in hard work. You don't have to be playing board games, right? There's other things you can do. Find joy in everything you're doing. And that'll make any survival scenario more of a thriving scenario than just getting through it.
Mm-hmm.
So hang in there, have fun, and know that I love this story about King Solomon. One of the wisest men that ever lived, right? He hired a servant to go and find him something that whenever he saw it, it would either, if he was happy, it would make him sad. And if he was sad, it would make him happy. You guys know this story?
Mm-mm.
Well, this servant searched high and low. He went through all these different countries. He finally found a jewelry maker who said, I have the thing that you're looking for, and handed him a ring. And there was an inscription on the ring. And when he took it, and he took it all the way back to King Solomon and gave it to him. And the inscription said this too shall pass. So if he was all high and excited, he could look at his ring and be like, oh, this moment will pass. This challenge or this absolute blessing, the high of highs, the low of lows, that will pass. And so it reminds him to be grateful and to remind him to be present, right? Because in the presence of what's going on, yes, there may be suffering, but there's also learning. There's also gratitude to be had. And that'll help you get through any survival situation. I've talked to a lot of people that have gone through some really horrific stuff. One interesting fellow, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I've got his book somewhere. He came to PrepperCon. He was lost adrift at sea. I think it was 300 or 430 days. And one of the things he said is he found that when I had a grateful mind, everything started working in my favor, and I was just happier. So find joy in what you're doing. Be grateful for what you're doing. It'll help you get through the hard times. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight and not tuning out. We appreciate all the chatter in the chat. It's been awesome. As always, you guys are entertaining, thought-provoking, and just the best people we know. So If you haven't had a chance to get on the live, guys, make sure you try to join us next week. Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Jose Alvaranga. Really, really cool guy. Had to have a translator to talk to him, but just a neat homo guy. Please, if you haven't already checked it out, go to preppertalkradio.com. We've got a lot of cool resources there. We've got prepping guides. We've also got the book. It's my favorite book that I've been able to co-author. It's The Ready Radius, Simplifying Method for Survival. Focus on what you can do now to get to the next best level of protection, and really just simplify all of your prepping endeavors. Guys, thanks for having us, being with us and listening. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Take
See you
care,
next
guys.
week.